Okay, so one other thing that this channel is going to have that I didn't mention before is it's going to have a lot of video responses. I think I'm going to try to focus a lot on video responses because there are going to be a lot of things that I'm going to talk about, but I have to literally sit down and think about what I'm going to say and what I'm going to present. And so this is a video response to Marriage for a Noahide, and it's by IPWNNEWBS50. Great username. And what I wanted to address in response to this video is that right now I am a Buddhist. And that's the first religion that I have ever felt like I could completely identify with. I remember a time in my religious journey that I considered becoming Jewish. Now, that doesn't mean that I was going to be, there goes my phone, a full-fledged Jewish by any means, or even an Orthodox one. But I just remember, what I was remembering about it and what the Noahide thing sort of brought up was that I had considered remaining a Noahide. And for those of you who don't know what a Noahide is, or a son of Noah is just basically if you take the Bible for truth, historically, we are all descendants of Noah because everybody was killed, and then Noah and his family were the only ones that were saved, and therefore all humanity comes from this one man. Now, that means everybody is a descendant of Noah. And Noah were given 7 commandments. And I don't remember exactly what those 7 commandments were, but those 7 commandments therefore applied to him and to his generations, which are all of us, indefinitely, forever. And so, even if you're not Jewish, you have Jewish heritage. You are a Jew in the sense that you are a relative of the patriarchs of Judaism. And so I remember considering becoming Jewish just because at that time I was just I didn't believe in Judaism, and I still don't believe in a lot of things that centers around Christianity and Judaism. Other than some moral precepts that I do definitely agree with, that I had considered becoming a Jew. And when I found out about the Noahide principle, I found a way to be a non-Jew and still keep what I had been developing, which was a Jewish-ish faith. And it just made me remember that I was totally going to become a Noahide and stick to that, like saying, having that religious position. And I remember letting go of that too. And I just thought it was interesting that this guy, this kid that I'm responding to, did mention it, and I just thought it was very smart of him to know about it, and very interesting that there's other people out there that actually understand it, especially someone younger. But that's not necessarily what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was how different I look at it now. When it's hard to say this kind of thing, and that's what this channel is about, is saying the hard stuff. I don't think that it's hard to put your foot in the pond of another person's faith, because they spend, especially if they're very faithful, they spend time in that pond being very still and making it very calm and no ripples, it's very still. And when somebody starts talking about someone else's faith, you're like, like, what is that called whenever you cannonball into someone's faith life, and it's hard to do that because I understand that, and that's why I'm so attracted to Buddhism, is because my waters are calm. They're always calm, and when you cannonball in it, it doesn't matter because I understand the true nature of that water is to change, is to be disturbed. It's a part of living. And I just remember looking back at that time whenever I considered being a Noahide, and that I was sort of blinded by my own desire to fit in. That's all I wanted. I never had an intention to believe in many of the Jewish stuff. That was just my way of associating with a place where I might belong. And I literally, the whole time, never believed that there was this man Noah, that everybody is a descendant. I almost look back at it and I realized that I could have very well have presented myself that way. Because I didn't believe it. I know that's not how it happened. I don't believe that. But I was so desperate to fit in to my Christian, and it's ironic that I was trying to fit in with my Christian contemporaries, my peers, the environment around me, the American environment. I wanted, even if I couldn't be a Christian, I would at least try as hard as I can to connect with it through, if somebody came up to me and asked me why I wasn't a Christian, I could tell them, well, looking back at Jewish roots, looking back at, I'm a Noahide. I am, and that's how I could connect to Christianity, because according to Jewish understanding, Christians are also Noahides, because everyone is a Noahide. Even Jews are Noahides, except that Jews were given extra commandments by God, which I ultimately do not believe. That God gave, burning bush Moses commandments. I do not believe that. And maybe I'll get into why later on. But that's how I wanted to connect with everyone around me. I felt like I needed to have that. And it just, I hadn't thought about it in a long time until I saw this video, and the link to the video will be like in the description. Because I ultimately believe, and this is the hard thing, this is me cannonballing into someone else's faith, into another, possibly your faith. I do not believe that we are all Noahides, because I do not believe that we all came from one family, which was Noah's family. Because I don't believe that the world was, God decided to, I don't want to sparkle in my nose, I don't know how I got that there, that God ultimately decided to end the lives of everyone. And I think, and this is the last thing I want to say before I get done with this, is that I think years from now, I don't know how many years, that people will look back on these kinds of ideas and they'll look back on it like we look back on Greek mythology. And I don't think a lot of people understand that about where they're positioning their faith. Now, there's a difference between being involved in a faith because of the tools that you use. The morality, the moral there's good things that come out of all kinds of faiths. There's good things, but it's original principles. It's beliefs, not necessarily its moral precepts or anything like that, are based on things that are ultimately myth, or will be seen at least, because I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just assuming based on my relative knowledge, science, and the fact that the world is way worse and God hasn't. Well, anyways, I'm not going to get into things. I know I'm going to get tons of comments of people saying, well, it's because of Jesus. But that I wonder if people years from now will look back at, faiths that believe things like we all came from one family, Noah's family, if they'll look back and just be like, wow, that was a crazy myth, Last thing I'm going to do, I guess. See ya.